Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show, our Tuesday show, Curious Crossroads with Rachel Starkweather, where we meet people and we figure out what their kind of crossroads are with astrology. Today, we're really meeting Canary, though, for the first time. So I don't know how much astrology we'll get into, but Canary, where do you hail from?
Well, I'm sort of all over. I'm currently in the Pacific Northwest, but like I grew up in the Midwest. I followed a girl out east. That didn't work. Followed another girl out west. That didn't work either. But mostly I'm from the internet, which is how I picked the name Canary. It's related to the username I use everywhere.
Well, I've never heard someone say they're from the internet. Does that mean that you've just always lived on the internet? I know you're kind of a gamer, so.
Kind of. But yes, like I said, I grew up in the Midwest in the 90s when things were very conservative. And I was in a little like Christian bubble. And there weren't really people like me or having the conversations like me. So it was the internet where I first felt like I was welcomed, or that there were people who wanted to have the kind of conversations I wanted to have. And then the last few years, I was working on a festival where people from Twitter were like, hey, we follow each other. We like each other's posts all the time. What if we rented a campground and met up in person and hang out for a weekend? So literally from the internet, like that's where I've found a lot of my community and just good connections.
Hmm. I don't know that I've really met anyone who rocks Twitter that hard. I mean, like, so what is the Twitter community even like?
Well, so here's the thing. You do need to know that the community I was a part of has kind of fallen apart. A whole lot of splintering has happened, so it's not there anymore. But the part I was in was a whole lot of wholesome posts where people were trying to figure out spirituality and like the intersection of logic and figuring out what your beliefs say about the world and what impacts that has on your actions, while also integrating logic and thinking with emotions, with desires. And so that spawned a whole lot of semi-philosophical, semi-spiritual talk, and served as a really, really good bridge for me, who was at the time an atheist, rationalist, like everything has to have evidence and I need to know what's true and what's not in a very deterministic sense, into tarot. And then I met you, and now we're talking astrology.
Yeah, seem to align with the astro community in as much as you have an existential philosophy bent on things. Where you look at things through spirituality in general and tarot in general, but also kind of philosophy because we've talked about be looking at the world as a atheist, and then how like you and I've done exercises of like how would an atheist describe this phenomena, how would somebody who believes in God, so I mean, do you think of yourself as a philosopher?
I accidentally got a philosophy major. I was raised Christian. I went to a Christian college, and what happened was I lost my religion at that Christian college, and I was going to be a Spanish major, and I failed out of that for motivational reasons, and then I failed out of sociology for I couldn't call people and ask them to take surveys for me reasons. And I realized that I'd spent the last few years trying to cope with my loss of religion by taking philosophy electives, and then just took a semester of philosophy so I could graduate. So you could call me a philosopher. There's some sense in which I'm kind of trying to be an old school pastor, where just in the community supporting people with their emotional and spiritual questions, but not with a dogma or a specific set of this is the kind of beliefs you have to have. More of a just a positional, relational situation like that. Does that make sense?
Well, I think it makes sense in as much as you definitely want to help people and grow a community. You're very
There it is.
community focused. So, for all the astrologers listening, we can talk about your chart, right, Canary?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay,
Go for it.
so Canary is a Jupiter and Aquarius rising. He's an Aquarius rising with Jupiter there. And Aquarius, we look at as one of the signs of community. It's basically the intellectual forming of communities. And Jupiter is a very optimistic and buoyant planet. So when you have Jupiter and Aquarius rising, it would say that you are buoyantly and fervently into communities and
Yeah.
thing. So, what kind of community? And Rachel, if you have any questions, please.
I'm just curious where his Venus is for the following women across the country story.
Oh yeah, Do we know where your Venus is, Canary?
I mean, I can grab it real quick.
Oh, it's okay. It was just more of a funny thought. A cute thought.
Yeah, how many girls have you followed across the country?
uh, well, two. So I mean, you could say two, and also a couple hundred, because part of how I picked my college was I saw the phrase "lake effect snow," and I was very excited about that. But I also saw that the college I was going to had like a 60-40 female to male ratio, and I was like, oh hell yeah, that seems like a great place to meet people. Uh,
You're like, I want a whole community of ladies, essentially.
I mean, isn't that the dream? Is that not the?
It's
So I did
not
find
not
my
the dream.
Venus is in Aries, by the way.
Oh, Venus and Aries. Okay.
Yeah.
What would that say to you, Rachel, about following girls across the country?
Well, impetuous, very quick, very
Yes.
quick to
Yeah.
follow.
Yes, that is definitely the case. I mean,
Yeah.
the first one I did end up married to for 5 years. Turns out she was a lesbian, so it didn't work. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, 5 years is a good run,
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought so.
especially with a lesbian. So, yeah. Well, okay. So, what kind of community are you interested in building nowadays?
That's a really good question. So can I talk about tarot for a second?
Sure. Rachel, are
So,
you okay? Are you okay with that, Rachel?
Yeah. Yeah. I pulled the Four of Pentacles today as my card.
ooh, okay, clinging on to something a little too tightly. Maybe I shouldn't have said that on blast.
Interesting. Interesting.
That's what the four is. It's the clinging that leads to poverty. It's the clinging that leads to losing
Whoa.
stuff.
That's
But
one interpretation of it.
sure,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there are many interpretations, but that's just on lock for what it always means for me.
Okay.
So you should know that I have a very cute deck. It's not the standard Rider-Waite deck. It's a bunch of cute forest animals. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to build this, the Ten of Cups, so I can live here. Now, the Six of Cups usually means like nostalgia for a time that never was, like getting lost in your fantasies or daydreams of what you thought your life could be. But in my case, I really think this is a cute like wife guy, just super into his wife. And so that's the goal. But for me, community is all about having a lot of people who are familiar with each other, who are aware of what each other are not only capable of, but are also proud of and kind of meant to do or called to do, in a sense, feeling what people find meaningful. And I think in that kind of community, it becomes a lot easier to set each other up for success. To say something like, oh, hey, here's this project that I'm working on. I know that you've got skills that you like to use in this way. Come support me here. Right? So like if, for example, I want to create an app that helps people track how much of their life they're proud of, I've got a friend who has done coding in the past and who really likes making neat little side projects, but who's kind of burnt out on the corporate life. So I could tap him and be like, hey, here's my specs. What do you need from me? What would we need to make this happen? And I think we can make a lot of dreams come true. I think we can make a lot of lives better if people live in that sort of mutual awareness and mutual support.
Interesting. So you want like a community where people can kind of mega manifest themselves through the assistance of a group.
Yeah. Yes. But it comes from like a deep understanding of who each other are, because it's really easy to get into a group and be like, we're all going to do this one thing, but then try to force everyone to fit the mold. And I think it's much better to have an idea of who each individual person's strengths are and what they want their strengths to be, so that you can help them grow into who they want to be with the projects that you work on together.
Oh, so okay. So in this show, we look at crossroads of astrology and what the guest is up to. And I have to tell you that in the astrology community, at least that we build, that's exactly what it is, because we look at the strengths of each person's chart. We say, who are you? What are you bringing to the table? What do you enjoy doing? What is your build? What does your sensory apparatus do naturally? And then how can we all be strong together? And I think, because I think I love what you're saying there. Is a lot of communities are built over a common thing, like um, tarot, and then like
Mhm.
everyone there does tarot. But if it's a different kind of community, to build a community and say like, who are each of us now, what is forming here because of what each of us, it's like if you did that, different groups would form different projects, but with the aggregate of their skills.
Yes. Yeah, and that was the dream of the Twitter group that I was originally part of for a while, was that we'd have this conference where there's no set events, but everyone who came would bring something that they cared about or that they wanted to share, and then they'd put themselves on the schedule. And whoever was interested would show up. And so you could hear talks on like writing stories, or like the second year I went, I was involved in the Oracle Dome, which is again how I got started in tarot. And it was great because it was this mega community that was about discovering who each other was. And then within that, you get these micro little events of like, okay, these people want to make art. These people want to sing. These people want to dance. These people want to teach you martial arts. These people just want to box for the first time. And that made the insurances kind of nervous. But yeah, that's exactly it. And I think astrology is a really good framework for you to have the kind of view of multiple people and their differences and their different strengths. When I got into college, my first thing that did that was personality tests. But there's all sorts of kind of structures you can build that around. Yes.
Well, and that concept has been tossed around among astrologers of like, it's not communism. It is, look, what if we all got paid the same, but we were working to our chart? Like, what would that look like? What would it look like in a world where because they say that if you work to your chart all the time, one transit at a time, that's when the moving planets ignite manias in us, basically. That basically you feel like you're flying, and there's this idea that you should retire one day and then do what you feel like doing. Well, we would say you should do what you feel like doing now, and then you feel like you're flying in your chart, and you never feel like you're working a day in your life. And that's kind of, so we've tossed around that idea of like, maybe people work to their charts and then no one feels like they're working and you all get paid the same, and then mega manifestation happens in there. What would be your role in the community that you're building?
So depends how mystical we want to go with this, because the short version is a sort of cheerleader and brainstorm type person to be like, okay, so let's figure out what you want, which is the basis of the thing I'm trying to do with my life right now, is to build coaching where people help figure out what they want. Like, what do they actually want? What do they care about? What's important to them? And then once we know what they want, a lot of times the reason people don't have it is because they don't think it's possible, or they've given up on it, or they might have some issue with accepting that that's the thing that they really want, right? Like, sometimes what someone really wants is to be a trad husband, and that sounds boring. Or they really want to just build systems, but again, that sounds boring, and like no one's going to be excited about it. And it's like, no, if that's the thing that gives you purpose, if that's the thing that fulfills you, if that's the thing you can get lost doing all day, let's figure out the barriers to you doing it and just doing it as well as you can. And that, I think, that sort of acceptance of what something is, and then coupled with what steps are really required to make this happen, would be very useful as a launch pad. And then if someone needs to come back and realign, we can come back and realign and be like, okay, what'd you get stuck on? Did the thing that you want actually change, or are you just frustrated? Because that happens a lot, to be like, I want something else. No, you're just sad because it was harder than you planned.
Interesting.
And I think that's a sort of reminder that I'd be helpful with.
So you're going to be kind of in this community helping people define what their path, purpose, and goals and all that kind of stuff are?
I don't want to say define. I want to say see. Because I don't want to put a story onto someone. The idea is that we would talk to their feelings and figure out who they already are based on what they're already feeling. Because I very much believe that people's purpose is written. The 20 years in the atheist parts of me doesn't want to say written on their souls, but it's the best description I have. Is that
you come on? You can say written in the stars.
Oh, there we are. Yes. It's written into their charts already, and we just have to take a look at it and figure out what lens is going to let them see themselves and be like, oh, No, that is beautiful, and I can be that.
Mhm. Okay. So you're kind of helping them. Okay. And this is where I feel like you and I became friends like over a clown car. Like I was painting my clown car outside my house and you stopped by and talked to me. But really, I think where we started to align pretty quickly is that we seem to be both interested in people's life path and purpose.
Yes.
Astrologers, we're actually teleologists, which are people who study things becoming themselves. And that it's the ancient philosophy upon which astrology was built. And I think that you're kind of a teleologist as well, from what I can tell, which is you're looking at people and what they're growing into, what
Yes.
they have, and you're looking for maximum growth. Check out this book that I've been reading, Grow to Your Fullest. How, 4 steps to rise above the crowd, bloom and bear fruit. I feel like this is your jam. It's like you want people to grow to their fullest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To whatever that is for them, because former gifted kid, right? I grew up. Everyone was telling me I could be anything or how special I was, and
The you have so much potential trap.
I mean, it's true, but it doesn't help.
No.
And this is how I got obsessed with the question of like, what do you want? What do I want? What do you want to be? And kind of pushing out all of the voices that come from outside and listening to the ones that are really in you.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny when you have a ability to take to anything that you take to, like then you could just do anything and you display yourself all over the place and kind of thing. And so it sounds like focus is one of the things you help people do.
Yes, very much so. And okay, so I'm a high functioning autistic, so I tend to see things in black and white, and I have no idea how that shows up in my chart. So I'd
Oh,
love
that's
you
a
to tell me.
Taurus thing. That is classic Taurus sun thing.
Fantastic. Okay. Uh, but I find that actually really helps with the focus, is to be like, okay, you've got a million things going on. We're going to strip it down to black and white, and we're going to see what's left. To just get that clarity, to paint in just a couple primary colors, and maybe that'll make the picture more obvious of what we're looking at.
Well, it's kind of like when you clear clutter in a room. Like I always say, cleaning is shopping because you don't even know what you have, and then you clean, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of stuff. And I feel like that's kind of what you're helping people do is like clean out the clutter of their soul so that they can, be left with a few nuggets that they can use. And I think, but you do a lot of stuff. I mean, coaching. I was taught by it's kind of consulting. So you're a
Mm-hmm.
coach. Rachel, do you have anything on your mind?
I'm just still listening.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think we could say that okay, let's talk about the coaching aspect because you one of the things you want to do is build a community, but then
Yes.
also you want to coach people
Yes.
who are in that community, it sounds like, but also just in general. So what do
Mm-hmm.
you see your job or role as a coach?
So there's basically 3 branches that we're on, and it starts with, what do you want? No, really, what do you want? No, what do you actually want? Because a lot of people I talk to think they don't know. They do. They do. It's just they're not looking at it, or they're not willing to look at it, or they don't want to look at it for a variety of reasons. But until you know what you want, you can't really do anything else. And this applies across the board. Like, what do I want out of this relationship? What do I want out of my career? What do I want out of life? And a lot of people just get money and are like, I'll figure it out later. No, you won't. You've got to actually sit down and do the work. Otherwise, what are you doing with the money? You're just stacking it up. Great. The second thing is I care a lot about what makes a good friendship.
Mm.
And I can say that that friendship comes down to just showing up and making space. And the showing up is the biggest hurdle that most people can't get over, especially as adults when we all get busy, is finding time to be around each other. But once you get past the simple show up, actually be around people, and then when you're around people, let them be who they are and accept them for who they are, and be around them to the degree that you can be around who they are. Because sometimes people are great for an hour and that's all I can handle. I'm sure you've encountered this. Someone who you really, really like once a month for an hour. And that's fine, right? Like, we don't
I'm not
all
taking
have
it personally because that's our cadence so far is once a month dinner for an hour.
But also there's also the Hank cookouts. I'm trying to add a few more things in.
That's true.
So we're getting there. And And then, but beyond those basics, right, just showing up and making space, there is a lot of practices and exercises and just habits you can get into about how to make space for people, how to show people who you are. And I think that that's being more intentional about it. And then the third branch is how much of your life are you proud of?
Mhm. Mhm.
This came out of me working a job for a decade that made me plenty of money. And I was like, I'm only happy for a half hour a week. And that doesn't seem like enough. So I started tracking how I spend my time and how much of my time I'm proud of. And I think if people pay more attention to that, they'll just start having better lives. Being like, wait, I am spending so much time on stuff that does not make me happy, does not make me productive, doesn't make me fulfilled or satisfied or loved or whatever they want. Just notice, where's your time going?
It's almost like instead of being proud of this time, it's they have shame about the way they're spending their time.
I mean,
Sometimes, depending on the activity.
yeah, and that can be a motivator. That the issue I have with shame is about not letting it spiral.
Yeah.
Big issue I had when I was depressed for a long time, and for me, when I'm depressed, I change stuff. And the worse my depression is, the more stuff I change, kind of at random, because it's like, what could possibly make this worse? Let's do something else and see what happens.
Mm.
And so for me, depression is a motivation to rejigger my life.
Mhm.
And I think that shame can work the same way, as long as you use it as a motivation to be like, yeah, this is how I feel now,
Mhm.
but let's change something so maybe I can invite different feelings in, as opposed to this is how I feel, and so I'm just going to go hide in the hole and feel it and let it bury me.
Yeah.
I think in everything you do, it sounds like you have like a huge improvement factor where you're always trying to improve upon whatever it is. If you're not
Yes.
happy, you try to improve upon that. If
Yes.
you know if a friendship isn't going a way that you like, you try to improve upon that. So do you think that's part of coaching? It's just constant improvement, basically.
I think so. Yeah. I think it's reminding people that they can do stuff.
Hmm.
That's like, you don't have to accept whatever's currently going on.
Hmm. I guess as a coach, like my brother's high school football coach is always like, always getting better. Like that was his thing. And like, that is a coach thing, is like to constantly develop. I mean, in some ways, coaches are development theorists in as much as
Yes.
they are getting people to develop. And I think that's kind of what you're up to as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because it's very common to be like, okay, so what'd you try? And that's the big hurdle with coaching, is getting people to try. And if you can get someone to try, now you're cooking with gas, because then you can be like, okay, what'd you try? Cool. Okay. Where did it fail? How did it not work? Do we think that that's the circumstances that you tried it in? Because sometimes you can do all the right things and still fail. That's just baked into the universe, and it's not fair, and we don't like it.
Hmm. Yeah.
But sometimes you just got to try it again. And sometimes you can be like, I'm going to try it again, but I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to do a different location or different speed, different person.
Have you ever heard of Kaizen?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
What is Kaizen?
the Japanese concept, right, of continuous improvement, always
Mm.
learning a little bit.
Yeah.
Do I have
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Constant continuous improvement. Yeah. So I think if and we try for that, like at the Moyer Press, we're development theorists, because we're always growing students in astrologers, and then we grow them into production, and we do a lot of, we're always growing people basically, and we just say we don't try for perfection, we just try for constant continuous improvement. So that's why I'm not a big critiquer. Even if a student's doing something that I'm not really fond of, I don't really critique them. I kind of just try to keep them growing out of it, kind of thing. uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to know how coaching is different than counseling.
So the main difference for me is that I am not trying to fix anyone's trauma. Uh, for me, it's my goal is to have a couple conversations that say, hey, here's how we figure out what you want. We're going to figure out what you want, either on a small scale, like maybe in a relationship or in a specific situation, maybe on a big scale. But once we figured it out, my goal is to just teach them how to do that. And then this is a generalized practice that they can carry with them and go forward, and maybe tell their friends that I'm a good person to talk to. I don't really want to have a sort of long-term, we meet every week for an hour kind of situation. And well, I think that what I'm doing can be healing. That's not really the point. I think if you have to unpack a lot of trauma, that's something you should probably talk to someone else about.
Mhm. Rachel, have you ever had a coach?
No, I haven't.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
have a long-term therapist.
yeah. I had several friends who are life coaches, and I never really understand what exactly the life coach does. But I think that's a really good um, example, Canary, is that it's not really, you're not trying to heal them from traumas. You're trying to improve their life. Like, okay, so I'm like this as an astrologer too. It's like there's all this trauma underneath and stuff. I like to work with people once they've gotten past trauma and they want to do mega manifestation. It's like, all right, you want to kick ass, let's go. Like, but
Yeah.
do I want to like dig into your past? And I don't super love doing that, honestly. Well, that's why I mean I was in recovery programs for a while, and it's like I definitely wasn't one of those people who like got set there because I was like, wait, we're gonna go back to the fact that we drank too much like 10 years ago again. Like I'm like cleaning up is the first part, and then you move forward. Like you know what I mean? Like so it's like I feel like you're like moving forward with people, and
Mm-hmm.
um, you know. So how is coaching different than friendship?
Great question. So here's a thing I've been having with a literal friend of mine who, because he knows I don't really have like a formal job right now, is trying to find opportunities to give me money. Is the way I've been trying to explain it to him is this is a thing I want to do, things that I'm proud of doing, that I like doing, that I think make the world better and provide value to the world. And if people give me money for it, that's great. So for my friends, I will happily do this already. But with my friends, I will also happily sit there and listen to them deal with the emotional baggage of their trauma and accept who they are. Like there's extra steps there that I think a good friend can do. Coaching is more focused, being like, okay, here is our specific goal. If we are in a coaching session, we are talking about what do you want? What is the outcome? What is the plan? What are the steps? What have you tried? What are you going to try differently? Let's look at the tapes. Let's review.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a friend wants a coaching session, I'm in. If a friend wants to pay me for a coaching session, so much better.
Mm. Interesting.
If a friend wants to pay me for a coaching session and then tell their friends about it, that's heaven. That's perfect.
So, if you were in a coaching session and somebody started talking about their trauma, what would you do?
Well, we can refocus. We can be like, okay, so I hear all of this, and usually, okay, let me go ahead and just give the secret sauce, because the value add for me is that I'm an outside person who can do this more efficiently than you can do it to yourself. But the secret sauce of knowing what you want is you're looking for where you are sad or where you are angry, and where you cannot fully see what you're sad or angry about because fear is in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So traumas are going to come up if the thing that you really want is the thing you're sad about. Just it's going to come up. And so we're just going to listen to it. We're going to hear why it's coming up, where it's coming from, what it's trying to protect you from. And then we're going to say, okay, that's legitimate. We still need to see the thing that you want, though.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Uh,
So you wouldn't like shame them for that. You would just kind of like veer them back onto goals setting.
I mean, it's not even veering back. Like I said, sadness and anger are the compass that point at what we want. So it's just part of the process that something painful comes up. Because if something painful didn't come up, they'd already know the thing that they want that they can't currently see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
So,
mean, it's
oh, go ahead.
well, just like knowing what you want, or figuring stuff out, or healing, or making your way through life. It's not a linear path. It's circular. You're always coming back to the thing and like seeing a different version of it, and you move forward, and then you come back to the thing, and there's like, oh, here's a new level of what I want or how I want to move forward. Like I feel like a very secure, or at least the coming back to circular type of path.
Yeah, I've recently started making friends with Buddhists who are explaining to me the cycles of samsara.
Mm.
What is samsara?
It, just the cycles. It's just the cycles of just death and rebirth. It's just the endless circles within circles within circles of re-experiencing stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you will use spirituality in a coaching session, like you might talk about Buddhism or you might talk about something spiritual in a coaching session. Is it inherently spiritual?
I don't really understand the question. Like, that's part of how I became an atheist, is that it's hard to decide, like, what does it mean for something to be spiritual. That said, I will use anything I can get my hands on to solve the problem.
Okay.
To be like, okay, we're going to talk favorite books. We're going to talk tarot cards. We're going to talk astrology. We'll talk personality tests. We'll talk about sports teams. I don't care. We're going to use any tool that seems relevant and helpful to figure out what it is that you're stuck on.
So and there's people watching. So if you are watching and you have questions for Canary about what he does, about what coaching looks like from Canary, or like anything about him, because we're just getting to know him, anything, feel free to put that in the chat. But so I guess so. Would you then expect somebody to come to you as a coach with a certain goal in mind or problem to solve? It sounds like that's kind of where it starts.
Great question. What I want is someone to come to me just saying, I don't know what I want. And then I can take it from there. We can narrow the scope. We can broaden the scope. We can figure out what they mean. Mm-hmm. Because if it's just got to be as simple as, I don't know what I want.
So is that's the only inquiry you allow? You don't allow other inquiries?
Absolutely, you can bring me other things. That's the one that I know I can efficiently do in an hour. Like, that's the one I'm very confident in. If someone thinks exploring their feelings or talking about other situations would be beneficial with my very Tauresian brain, what's the adjective?
I don't know.
If someone wants to just come yes, sure. But if someone wants to come and just take advantage of like my clarity and my incisiveness and my strip things down to basics on anything, I will happily give them the time. But the only thing I promise I can help them answer is, what do you want?
Well, this brings me to a harder question, which I hope it doesn't offend you, but I just really think it would be good for us to ask it, which is like, what are your credentials for being a coach, or what makes you qualified?
How dare you? No. So basically, I don't have formal credentials. I don't have them. What I have is the gifted kid syndrome of having to figure it out when I was 20. And a long time figuring out the practices that consistently work for me, and series of dozen conversations at this point with people who've been able to see what they want and go for it after talking to me. Do I wish that number was higher? Sure.
Do you wish what?
I wish that number was higher, yeah. But, you know, I'm going to be present, and I'm going to be determined. I'm going to use whatever tools I got to use to get it to work until it works. And that's a kind of thing that you're not going to see everywhere.
Well, Tom Wilson's here, and he says that he does have formal credentials and that you are way better at than most. How do you know Tom?
Tom, I met Tom through that Twitter community I was talking about earlier, where we rented at a campground and met each other. And we become, yeah. So I've talked to him for a few years, watched him overcome some stuff. He's a champ.
Nice. He definitely has seen you help people with their manifestation, because that's what the Twitter community was all about.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you guys by chance move to Blue Sky, or did you move as a community to a different server?
Some people did. I didn't. Like, that's the thing, is, like I said, the community is kind of splintering at this point, part of which is changes to the algorithm, part of which is just changes in terms of people's life situations. Mm-hmm. The festival has become less about nerds showing each other stuff they're into, and it's become a lot more dance parties and substances, gray market substances that aren't regulated, so it's not like anyone's breaking the law as far as I know. But It just wasn't the nerd friendly. Hey, I'm super into this cool thing. Let me show you.
Yeah.
That it was at the beginning, and so I just felt less welcome there.
Mm.
But I think some people moved to Blue Sky. I think some people have moved to their own sub communities or started their own festivals in response.
Mm. Where did your name come from, Canary?
Great question. Uh, so my sense of humor is I really enjoy intentionally getting a joke wrong because I think it's fun. I didn't know I was high functioning autistic until I was 29, but I did know that I often got jokes incorrect, and I found it so funny to do that on purpose. So in college, I had friends who would play video games and they'd have names like Nighthawk and Warhorse. And I'm like, okay, adjective animal. I see the theme. I'm going to join it. So I'm going to start with the adjective dread. That's a good, strong gamer adjective, right? And then what's the least scary thing I can think of? And I thought of the first pet that I had when I was real little. My mom and I had a little canary called Captain. And so I became Dread Canary. And I am Dread Canary everywhere. I'm Dread Canary on Twitter. I'm Dread Canary on fanfiction.net. I'm Dread _ Canary on Reddit because I had Dread Canary on Reddit and then I lost the password. But like I'm Dread Canary on just about every social media platform that I'm on. And then a couple years ago, I was like, you know what? I want to be friendlier. So we're going to drop the dread and just go with Canary. Just be the bird, the cute little yellow songbird.
Interesting. I'm on Reddit right now because I got kicked off Facebook, and so if you want to be friends on Reddit, I'll find you, Dread Canary.
Dread _ Canary on Reddit, remember?
Yeah, well, I'm obligation mindless 53.
Okay.
Um, so what does it mean to be high functioning autistic in your mind?
Great question. So first off, I miss the Asperger's label. I know why it's problematic. I know why the doctors don't want to use it. I get all that. But it was really helpful having a way to differentiate what I am from the people who need a lot more social support. High functioning autism manifests as a inability to pick up on social cues and a kind of disconnection from emotions and emotional expression. It's taken me a long, long time to figure out how to identify and feel my emotions. And even then, it's like I'm painting with just primary colors. I don't know if you are familiar with the history of newsprint comics, but like initially they were black and white. And then in like the 50s and 60s, the big innovation was that they could print things in red, blue, and yellow. Like they had
primary.
3 colors. Yeah, exactly. And so Superman is the color Superman is because that's what they knew how to print.
Wow.
And
Blue
there's a
and
lot
red.
of, yeah,
Blue and red.
exactly. Little yellow for the symbol of the House of L. But yes,
Oh yeah.
little yellow. And so there's that, but there's all these nuances of feeling that I can generally be like, yeah, that's some kind of red. That's some kind of anger. I know it's in the anger quadrant of the pie, right? But I can't necessarily tell the difference between irritation or frustration or rage or all the nuances that you can have these feelings. And it's very difficult for me to track social interactions when we get to more than me and one other person. As soon as I have to interact with 3 or 4 reactions at a time, I get overwhelmed and I just get so exhausted immediately. Because like if I'm talking to you, I can see when you lose interest because I've picked up the cues. I've learned the cues, but I've got to watch fully and carefully and be fully engaged in that interaction. If I got 3 people, I'm going to miss somebody.
Yeah.
I'm going to offend somebody and not notice.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting thing of like being highly acute. Like if there's 2 people in the room and they're having different frequencies, like Rachel and I have a very different frequency, and so that actually is hard for me to calibrate because I'm just like she seems like so chill as to and then I'm just like really high, like fast, and like so it's like I get that too, where it's like we get like and like do I kind of slow my roll to meet Rachel, or do I stay fast to meet you? And like I get that multiple frequency cognitive dissonance problem as well. I mean, I think people who are highly attuned, it's kind of funny that you say that you're not emotional, because I think that does show high emotional attunement, to be caring for all people enough to want to react appropriately. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I do think the it's interesting, the lack of emotional quality that you described, because as astrologers, like, just so you know, I've seen Canary's chart, and it's extremely air heavy. It's like Jupiter in Aquarius rising, Mars in Gemini, we got Libra. It's like an air grand trine, and then there's like a Sun in Taurus, which is Earth. Then the Mercury's in Aries, so it's like a fast Mercury. It's a fast talking Mercury with just tons of air. And so what we say is, like, you actually don't have the humoral composition to feel emotions. Like I have a ton of water, so I'm extremely emotional, and that's why I'm always playing the piano and making art, right? Like when we have our barbecues, like I'm always on the art table, and you're like on the high frequency talking table, like.
Okay, real quick interjection. So I now, as of last year, have access to my feelings, and I feel them all the time. But the analogy I use is that it's like looking at a whirlwind.
Okay.
So you might have a lot of, watery emotions. I got a lot of very airy emotions. They're just whipping around.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually water air, so like I have a lot of that like you and I definitely kind of line up on the air for, like, I'm a Gemini rising, and I'm extremely cerebral, and so I think you and I line up on this extremely cerebral frequency. But then I'm more on the water cerebral, and you're more on the fire cerebral. So it's like you and I are kind of finding our calibration of, like, yeah, it's just. It's so, to me, when I heard that you were lacking in emotions, at least prior to last year, I was delighted as an astrologer, because I'm like, well, that's exactly the chart, and the calculations are correct, and like, so I don't necessarily see that. We don't see that as like autism. We see them as like your sensory apparatus is working as it should, kind of thing. Rachel's a mix of air and water, aren't you?
The only water is my Cancer rising. Otherwise, I'm air dominant with a good amount of fire. Yeah, no earth.
Interesting. Well, and you're kind of interesting, Rachel, because like in certain contexts you're extremely chatty, but then in certain contexts you're kind of quiet. What's that? What was that? Sorry, Canary, I have to stop.
No, that's just Moon in the 12th house, ruled by Mercury in the 4th house.
Okay, so like the Moon in the 12th makes you more private.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's my chart ruler, Cancer rising, Moon in the 12th, and then that being ruled by a very private Mercury.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's retrograde. It's stationed retrograde.
Okay, so we're talking to see now, Canary, I'm doing that like calibrating, because it's like she's talking to Astro Crew, but you don't really know Astro, and then I'm like, is everyone okay? Like, I feel that too. I feel that too. So,
yeah,
maybe that's
part of what I was so excited to meet was because I've been interested in astrology for years. I think I told you this, that the first person to look at my chart was like, "Oh, Venus loves you, but she wasn't home when you were born," and that has haunted me for years. And then.
Because she's in Aries, right, Rachel? So she's not in
right,
Libra, right?
yeah.
And then the second person to really look at my chart was like, this chart doesn't want to be read by me, which I thought was a really interesting reaction.
Yeah.
And then I look at you and I'm like, yeah, I'm a Pisces rising. And you're like, nah, you're not. You're an Aquarius rising. Like that. You're right on the cusp, but it's the other side. And it made a lot more sense.
Yeah, you are so Aquarius rising. Like, you're so Aquarian, which actually makes me want to talk about your affinity for friendship and the book that you wrote, which I think you'll be on next week talking about the book so get ready for Canary next week, Rachel. Because the book that you wrote is on friendship, right?
Yes. I am in the process of fixing some formatting issues when I switch it to a PDF, and then I'll put it on my website. But I wrote what I call the Good Friend Protocols, which it's a little out of date now because it was written in 2020 to 2022 before I had full access to my feelings. But it's all about how I, as a high-functioning autistic, kind of reasoned my way to empathy. And I didn't even have there's two kinds of empathy. There's affective empathy, which is where you can feel other people's feelings. And I've managed to do that 3 times in my life, all in the last year. And then there's cognitive empathy, which is where you build a mental model of what someone might be feeling and try to take care of that. And the idea was, even if I have these natural neural issues that stop me from doing empathy the way most people get to do it. I still want to be a good friend, and I still want to meet the emotional needs of my friends who are not so dissociated from their feelings. And so I wrote about kind of my intellectual approach to how to do that, which is why there are protocols, there are guidelines, there are steps.
How do you feel that being authentic is part of the coaching process, having that
Yes.
sense of like a really natural response to somebody? And then if you have protocols, how do you hold that with authenticity? Like,
Ooh, yes, I love this question. Thank you. I get to explain one of the concepts I'm most proud of. So you've heard of masking, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah. So for anyone who might not be familiar, masking is generally a term for people who are either neurodivergent or often chronically ill will happen as well, where people pretend to be something they're not for the benefit and convenience of the people around them. Because
Also
if you're
people
like,
who've been through high trauma.
yes, anytime where you're trying to just not bring down the room with yourself,
Yeah.
pretending to be something you're not so that other people can be happy. And it's a defensive move. And it's very needed, especially when you're young and you don't have the ability to provide for yourself. Gotta do it. And that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing, I call self-translation, because on the inside, I always knew that what I cared about was my friendships and my connections to other people. This was the most important thing to me. But the way that would naturally come out of my face didn't get received as it was. So it felt like there was just this kind of frosted glass between
A dissonance.
Yeah, a distortion between who I felt I was and how other people perceived me. So I'm doing what I call self-translation, which is to say, okay, I feel excited. I want to show that I'm excited. I'm going to show how I'm excited the way a neurotypical or someone who's closer to the baseline human average would show it. Or I feel affectionate, or I feel caring, or I feel hopeful, or I feel whatever I'm feeling, but I'm going to paint it onto my face so that it looks to other people that I am feeling that way, as opposed to just doing the, oh yeah, that's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can go back to this. It's just boring. And no one sees how excited I am to be here.
That's so good.
Right? But it's like, that's...
Yeah. Well, I'm a theoretician. Like, this is where my Gemini comes in. Like, I'm very theoretical about human relationships, and like I'm always talking about things like people like a math equation, and like, and I think that I really enjoy you because of your hyper theoretical approach to the human relationships. And you know, a lot of astrologers are not like this, but my chart just happens to be hyper theoretical, and also I can feel auras. So it's like, I would be like, wait, that aura flattened when you said that. And I think technically what was going on is like, so like, I actually do feel that level of empathy where I can literally feel their aura feeling the feeling, but then I'm hyper theoretical about how to fix that. And what do we do about that? And like kind of thing. Whereas like, I love that you're approaching things kind of theoretically without that auric awareness. You know, and which makes you have a superpower. I don't, because I get like crushed by the aura, you know, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think when I think of the strengths of your chart, like if I was putting you in a community where the strengths were the center, I would say you're a theoretician. And that is one of the strengths of a hyper cerebral chart that is perhaps not taken down by the emotional layer, is that it is can be hyper theoretical about things that most people are very emotional about it, and in that way you can heal large groups of people of like, you know, it's like if you say like, well, what I've noticed happens in friendship is this and that, and you can help like a million people build better friendships because of your hyper theoretical approach to this thing that people, I don't know, like, so I think one of your strengths is being a theoretician. Do you agree with that?
100%, always. But so, like I said, I was an atheist rationalist. Rationalist was a movement started by a guy who was trying to stop AI from destroying us all. We'll see if he succeeded. But one of the very big points of the original Less Wrong sequences was that your beliefs about the world have to actually show up in reality. They have to constrain your experience. They have to lead to testable predictions, or they're not connected to anything. And so I can have all these theories about friendship, but the thing that makes them useful is living them and iterating on them and putting them into practice. And so it's not enough for me to just theorize. It's to be like, okay, so we tried it. Great. Why didn't it work? Or what were you hoping would happen? Or what can we do differently? It's like the great, I think it's an engineering quote. Anything that works in practice can work in theory.
Yeah, so you're taking kind of almost like a research look into it as well, not just that's yeah. And there's a lot of different kinds of research. There's experimental research where we try to like isolate the variable and see like if I do X, then does Y occur, and kind of thing. So, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Now, I really want to quick bring back, because I'm not sure I fully covered it. Did I answer your question about masking? Like, are you comfortable with what I was talking about there?
Well, I guess my question was more like, how do you handle both authenticity, being authentic to your client, and at the same time having a protocol?
How can you be authentic?
I know.
I love that. That's a great way of asking it. And
authentic.
Well, so the thing with okay. So I already said what the compass was. The compass is we're going to talk to your anger. We're going to talk to your sadness.
Yeah.
We're going to see where they get stuck on fear. That's the protocol. Yeah. Like that's underneath everything. That is the engine that's powering the kind of coaching I'm doing when I'm finding out what someone wants. And then since that's what we're doing, then it just becomes a question of how can I communicate that?
Yeah. So
I'm trying to communicate the truth that I'm pointing at using whatever tools I can get my hands on that makes sense to them.
Would you say it's instead of you communicating to it, it's getting them to think through it in a way where they can find their own answers?
Yes, 100%. Yes, all of coaching is about pointing at people that they have their own answers already. No matter what kind of coaching you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Canary, I want to pivot around to spirituality because our community is extremely spiritual.
Sure.
Our spiritual bent. So let's talk about. We only have 5 minutes, and we do have to get people to know where to find you. Okay, so let's take 3 minutes on this, and then we'll take 3 minutes where to find you. So, okay, so you once were an atheist. What would you consider your spiritual views currently?
So when I was an atheist, I came up with the idea that if heaven's throne sat empty, that the only people qualified, the only entities that existed that could create, love and grace and mercy and this better world that we all want was humans, that if heaven's throne sat empty, it was up to us to try to sit on it. And so I tried to be that as hard as I could. And then I found out that throne was occupied. And so now I consider myself a servant of what I call the loving aspect of all that is. So all that is would be like, you can call that God. Like the Buddhists have this whole idea that all is one, that it resonates with. We could point at it as like the kind of slightly wooer version of I am that I am from Christianity and Judaism. So I think there's something.
The something that is?
Yeah, something that just is. And it has the capacity to love, and I specifically serve love within that. And that is my goal and my mission. And there's other aspects, but that's the one that I'm aligned with and that I'm all about.
I'm going to have to follow you across the country because I like you, Canary.
Well, thank you. But I think we're relatively close right now. So
we're neighbors. Canary and I are neighbors. He's grown on me too. I love how cerebral you are. It actually really works for me. I mean, especially in friendship, like I really like hyper talkative cerebral people because
same.
Because if you can't date there's a physical aspect to dating, but in friendship you can't connect in those ways. Like in the love languages, you can't connect on the physical touch layer really. And I know you don't even hug people. So it's like there has to be a cerebral connection, and
I do hug people. It's just it's very important to me, and so it's just that we haven't gotten there yet. But at some point, I will let you hug me, and it'll be a big moment. because I do touch. It's just very important, and I keep it special by keeping it rare.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I will let you hug me. How's that?
And that's fair.
Yeah,
Fair
because
enough.
I don't want to be let to hug you or not. Like, I don't even need that from you.
Fair
No.
enough.
Sometime I'll let you hear me play the accordion.
Delightful.
Canary hates bad music. Okay, all right. Let's. I'm testing Canary in many contexts, and I've learned a lot already. Okay, Canary, tell us where to find you for coaching.
So for coaching, I am in the middle of building my website. It is currently live, ghostfinch.com.
Ghost
So
Finch.
yes,
So cute.
because when I came up with it, I wanted the possibility of having partners, and so it needed to not be Dread Canary, so Ghost instead of Dread, and Finch because a canary is a kind of finch. Ghostfinch.com, and at the bottom of it, there are links to my Calendly where someone can sign up for a conversation if they want to, and you can also Venmo me if you're. There's a link to my Venmo if you want to support what I'm doing. Also, if you don't want to do that, you just want to do a quick hit. I'm going to regret saying this, but for now, at least on Twitter, I am Dread Canary, just at Dread Canary. And my icon's a little picture of a dog. We can talk about muffins at some point in the future. And my DMs are open. So if someone just wants to like send me a question, that's probably the easiest way to do it at this time.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we really look forward to having you next week, where you're going to kind of teach us some of the protocols for friendship.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Rachel and I will be better friends after that, and you and I will be better friends after that. I'm going to utilize everything I learn, and it's just going to be insane.
So much friendly love going around.
So much.
Yeah.
Canary? Do you believe in trading candy, which is beads? That's what ravers do to build friendships, is we trade candy.
Okay, I haven't done that, but in my community, a lot of us had stickers printed. So, like, if you want to give me a bead, and I'll give you a sticker, that'll work.
Okay. Well, oh yeah, you did give stickers over at the barbecue, and I did give you beads once, so we already did that.
I already did.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Canary. We will see you next week. All right.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.